family, and football. And on the Boxers menu this morning, a healthy serving of revenge. Good morning, everybody, and happy Thanksgiving. I'm Tim Cox. Thanks for joining us for this Thanksgiving Day showdown, the Boxers and the Wildcats of Weymouth. Steve Valley joins me as always, and Steve, the parallels are there to 1991. The Boxers lose their opening day game. They go on a roll, secure a spot for themselves in the Super Bowl by winning the rest of their games leading into Thanksgiving. They came into the Turkey Day game knowing they were already going to the postseason and perhaps looked a little bit past Weymouth. So now they've got a chance to avenge that one-point loss last year.
And believe me, I talked to the team, I talked to Armin this week. They are focused on Weymouth. You mentioned one key thing there. Boxers did open their season with a loss, but they're not playing that team in the Super Bowl. Last year, they wanted St. John's. It was no secret. They already had a date set with them at Boston University. This year, they didn't lose to St. John's. They beat St. John's. They don't know who they're going to play. We'll know that by the end of today's contest, but they're focused on Weymouth. It's still sticking in their minds. I talked to Lucian Belanger and Troy Semper this past week, and they were telling me nothing else matters but beating Weymouth. And I think you're going to see a concentrated Brockton effort today, Tim.
See, this is also a different Weymouth team. They've got the talented Mark Stanton at quarterback, but a young team otherwise, and they come in with a record of 3-6. Last year was a different story. They were 7-1-1 coming into Thanksgiving Day. We'll have the opening lineups for you, the starting lineups, and all of the action in just a couple of minutes. Stay with us. Well, a very wet day as the rain began to fall perhaps half an hour, 40 minutes before game time, and has remained steady ever since. You get a better idea of the attendance here by counting umbrellas than you do counting people.
Multicolored crowd today, Tim.
It certainly is colorful as Weymouth takes the field. Wildcats coming in at 3-6, and again, thinking about 1991 when they shocked the Boxers on Thanksgiving Day. This is, of course, the final appearance at Marciano Stadium for the senior members of the Brockton High football team, as well as the band members, cheerleaders, halftime dancers, color guard, and majorettes. And we'll have our traditional ceremony in just a moment, introducing all of those seniors. Nearly every one of the starters on the Brockton team is playing their last game here.
There'll be a few members of the Brockton High football team out for the coin toss, of course. All the seniors go out there. I'm pretty sure Lucian will, well, he won't have to make the call because Weymouth will make the call, but they'll all be joining hands as a sign of unity. All the seniors, one last hurrah at their home stadium. Just wish it was, the weather cooperated a little bit more, though.
Yeah, we give credit to those folks who have come out and persevered as the weather has continued to get worse. But people come prepared and psychologically ready, knowing that a nice warm home and warm dinner is waiting for them. It's worth getting wet now.
Actually, it could be worse. It could be 10 or 15 degrees colder, and then the field will be covered with snow.
Exactly, it would be 6 inches deep by now. So we'll reserve all complaints from here on in. Well, at least maybe. We'll do our best. As the Boxers, as we said, already secured a Division 1A playoff spot and awaiting the outcome of a couple of other games to determine their opponent. But that one is out of their hands. It's just a question of who wins over in Westwood and who wins the Somerville Arlington game.
And I'm sure if you ask 100 people in Brockton, 100 people would tell you they'd like to play Waltham.
The national anthem with the Brockton High School Band. Boxer band, of course, with their foul weather uniforms designed by Hefty.
I like it. It looks like they're working too. Even Vin McCreen is wearing one. Go ahead.
And now, Steve, we'll hear the introductions of the senior members of all of the organizations on the field right now. So we'll give you a chance to listen in and hear the names of family members and friends, classmates.
For their spirit, for their commitment, for their talent, and ideal. Ultimately, cheerleader captain, cutting and Yarrow. It's a singing in the rain day here. Senior capitalizing.
That's not the first body we're going to see in the
No, I don't think so.
Certainly not the last. Obviously, they don't have their wet weather shoes on, Tim.
No spikes on those shoes. The senior cheerleaders being introduced. And now the halftime dancers.
Brzezinski, April Silva, and Sandra Mining.
And now the majorettes.
And Christine Hansen. Majorette seniors, Amy Boucher and Tracy Leonard.
Now the senior members of the color guard.
Nicole Kalamanica. Jennifer Hayward. And Cicely Roberts. Dance seniors, Lori Anderson.
The senior members of the band now being introduced. And finally, the senior members of the Brockton Boxer football team. And there are a lot of them.
Whole starting lineup.
Starting with Captain Lucian Belanger, the sole captain of this team. Craig Bernard being introduced. Michael Bourne. And the rest of the Boxer seniors.
A lot of emotion running through their minds right now. Their last time playing in front of their home fans.
the biggest of the class of '93, Brent Warren, saved for last.
Could be the biggest in the state, Tim.
And the victory march to acknowledge the seniors. So the ceremony for the class of '93, the members of the band, halftime dancers, color guard, majorettes, cheerleaders, and football team.
Did you forget anyone, Tim?
I don't think so.
The announcers, the press box, the fans.
Introduced for the final time on the field here at Marciano Stadium. The Boxer season, of course, not over. They will be traveling to Boston University for the Division I playoff game on December the 5th. Time for the coin toss. We're not sure how well you'll be able to hear what's going on down there. In fact, you may not be able to hear much of anything at all. The captains out there for Weymouth, number 14 is Mark Stanton, the quarterback, 23, Manny Fernandez, 40 is Adam Good, and the gentleman out of his pads there, 45, Joe Donovan, one of the better players, one of the 4 captains on this Weymouth team who is injured, awaiting arthroscopic surgery, and will not be in the lineup. That's a big loss for the Wildcats.
That is a huge loss for Weymouth. He's one of their leading tacklers. He's one of their leading rushers on the ground. Remember last year, he had one of the big interceptions in the first half against Mark Hartzell. He's going to be very tough to replace.
So that's the way it stands. Again, the Wildcats coming in 3-6. They had high hopes. Stanton was pegged in preseason as one of the best quarterbacks in the state. But as with a great runner, you're only as good as your line, your blockers.
See,
with Stanton, he's only as good as his supporting cast. They just haven't been able to put the points on the board.
His supporting cast. The reason why Mark Hartzell had such a banner year last year is because he had the supporting cast. Weymouth only returned Manny Fernandez, Mark Stanton, and Joe Donovan as starters, and that's going to take its toll.
The Boxers will be kicking off. You see Alan Bursey getting set. It is a wet field. They've done a good job as always. We'll talk more about that a little bit later on, but it is a soggy surface out there, as you might expect. It's been a wet week and is only getting wetter now. Back deep for the Wildcats, though not terribly deep. Steve Karasi is number 30 and 31, Kevin Burns. They are camped out near the 15-yard line, and now a sprint back into formation for Mike Taylor.
What did they think? They were going to fake the kickoff?
It might have been a kickoff fake. Bursey's kick, a safe one, and it may just get out of bounds. It does, so they'll back it up and try it again. Bursey having to watch his footing, and he'll have to try that one over again. So Weymouth looking to get pretty good field position.
Mentioning the field, Tim, we were talking to Tom Pileski. Believe it or not, a volunteer takes care of the field. Rich Bloomstein takes 12 hours a week to fertilize the ground. He mows it, he does everything himself, and the money for the fertilizer and all his work is donated. I guess he raised a couple of $1,000s for all the materials, and something everyone in Brockton should acknowledge. I mean, there's not a lot of people who would actually take time out of their everyday lives to do this for a high school football team.
12 hours a week during the football season to make the playing surface attractive and safe for the Boxers and their opponents. We'll get the lineups for you in just a moment, but Weymouth with the ball, they will take possession of the ball at the 30. That's their option with the kick that goes out of bounds. And on the first play from scrimmage, they are able to get perhaps a couple of feet as you look at the starting front line for the Wildcats. And here's your backfield. Stanton, the highly regarded quarterback. Donovan's name is in there, but we just learned moments ago that he is not in the lineup. The receivers include Fernandez, who's very quick, and the best target for Stanton.
If he has the time, you got to remember, he hasn't thrown too many touchdown passes this year because he doesn't have the time.
So it'll be second down, a long 9 for the Wildcats from just across their 30-yard line. First possession of the game, and Fernandez in motion. Semper will try to pick him up, and Stanton will try to hit him. Fernandez the intended receiver, but Stanton will just have to run it out of bounds with a gain of a couple of yards. Ridden out by Michael Landers right in front of the Weymouth bench. And let's take a look at the Boxer defense if we could. It's the same one that's been out there, and all but a couple of them are seniors. Bernard, Warren, Persampieri, Reardon, Sykos, and Mosley, all seniors on that starting defensive front and at the linebacker positions. And in the secondary, only Landers and Velios will return in 1993. Belanger, the captain, Semper, and Picard Jacques, who had a couple of interceptions in their last game against New Bedford. So those are the people you'll see out there most of the time, and Weymouth faced with a 3rd and long situation, about 8 yards to go from their 32. Stanton fakes and rolls left. He'll keep it. The bootleg, and Bernard tries to run him out. Finally, Belanger comes up, closes the gap, and it's Velios who knocks Stanton out of bounds, well short of a first down. The Wildcats will be forced to kick.
You see Stanton, he will not stay in the pocket all game long because the Brockton pressure is going to be too intense. This first series proved that Weymouth is not going to be able to get outside. Brockton is already forcing Stanton to run inside, and that's not good for Weymouth.
We talked about the wet conditions. You saw that cheerleader take a spill. If you notice the official down in the left bottom corner of your screen, he's already taken a fall. That's pretty clear from the mud on his
pants.
That's Stanton to kick. He's got a good leg, and he gets off a good high kick that Michael Bourne will let bounce, and it takes a Weymouth hop down to the 21-yard line of Brockton. And that's where the Boxers will take over for the first time. We apologize for the noise. We assume you're hearing that static sound as we are. It's a moisture problem in one of the microphones, and it is not something you're hearing. All right, we can never really tell up here, but
we can't hear anything else, but we can hear that static.
we anticipate perhaps some technical difficulties today. These wet days will frequently do that.
Weymouth on defense, Tim. They're only giving up 13 points a game, so they should provide a healthy match for Brockton's offense.
But Joe Donovan, one of the starting linebackers and a key to that defense, not in the lineup, as we said. And the first carry goes to Michael Bourne. He's got about a yard up the middle. Let's take a look at the players out there right now. The Boxers again, the all-senior starting offense. Warren, Floyd, Gregory, Sykos, and Reardon playing their last game here at Marciano. Shaheen with the 3 men in the backfield. Bourne, Mosley, and Belanger. Craig Bernard and Steve Pina, the 2 tight ends set. And the Weymouth defense in just a moment. 2nd down 8 from short of the 23-yard line for Brockton. And it is the last man through again. Michael Bourne, not much there. Gets across the 23 perhaps. And the Boxers faced with perhaps a passing situation here on 3rd down. A reminder, we'll be selecting our Cape Cod Cafe Most Valuable Player of the Game at the conclusion of the telecast today. And we'll also be awarding more bucks for points in the Cape Cod Cafe Dollars for Points program. They contribute $4 for every point scored by the Boxers during one of our telecasts. Our season total is at $920, so with a decent offensive output today, the Boxers could break into 4 figures, and we hope so. 3rd down 7 from the 24, loose ball. Shaheen picks it up and falls forward. Penalty marker down as well, and we'll await the signal before finding out whether the Boxers give it away.
Mark Stanton was the safety. He was playing center field. A new twist to Weymouth coach's strategy. And here's a look at the defensive line.
This is the starting unit. Papachristos Campbell, Lexner, Shue Cunningham, and Joe Collette. And here's what we anticipated. Donovan, Good are the linebackers. Donovan not in there. Taylor and Ward at cornerback. Jay Wilson and Manny Fernandez at the safety spot. But as Steve noted, Stanton was in there on that last play at safety. As the Boxers face with 4th and 7, will punt. Bursey, loose ball, and we'll have a dead ball foul before the snap. And that's really a break for the Boxers.
Very sloppy early on by both teams. Taking Joe Donovan's place on linebacker for the Wildcats will be number 44, Brian Scott. In talking about Joe Donovan, on defense alone, Weymouth misses 75 tackles by the senior linebacker. And on offense, only ran for 101 yards. But he's very inspirational for his team.
Also a key blocker in that backfield for Weymouth. So Donovan missed at both sides of the ball. So the Boxers backed up 5 yards on the penalty, and Bursey gets a better snap this time. An end-over-end kick. Velios will let it go and rolls across midfield where Weymouth will get some good field position to start their second drive of the game.
Brockton on the defensive side, great stats on defense. In 9 games, they've only given up 114 points. You subtract that 34 points from Wagner, and it's really impressive. They're averaging 12.6 games, 12.6 points scored on them per game. So Weymouth
both
has
teams
their
in
work cut up for them.
the same neighborhood.
But you look at the quality of opponents played, and Brockton's stat is even more impressive.
So Stanton leading the Wildcats out for the second time. 1st and 10 from their 47, and Fernandez again in motion. Quick pass now over the head of the intended receiver for Mark Stanton. That's Ellie Pierce, a sophomore, number 12. And Stanton goes incomplete.
Stanton this year, 62 for 151, 802 yards. Interceptions, big boo-boo this year, 11 interceptions, and that could be his lack of protection more than anything else, because we saw what he could do last year. Very impressive.
Very strong arm. And as we said, if you have the protection up front, you have the people who can catch the ball, he'd be a fine quarterback and was getting a lot of attention from major college programs early in the season. Not sure where he stands now. The carry over the left side goes to 34, Mike Taylor, who's a multi-purpose player for Coach Joe Kelly. And he gets across midfield, or just about at midfield, for a gain of 3 to bring up 3rd down and a short 7. This is the 3rd year of the reunited Weymouth programs, and still many signs of the old days around us. A lot of former South players on hand, Weymouth South players. The two schools merged and began playing as one team in 1990. 3rd down, call it 6 from the Brockton 49, and a slippery route there for Steve Keresy, who's able to get back to the line of scrimmage, but no more.
Jason Mosley first on the play, took advantage of Keresy's lack of footing. Steve Keresy, heck of a back, ran for 624 yards this year, 7.5 average per run. That time he was a little bit below his average, maybe like 7 yards.
Keresy just finding the footing tough. You can see the mud kicking up as he tries to get going, and Mosley and Belanger make sure he does not. 7:25 to go, first quarter, no score, and Weymouth ready to punt for the second time. Stanton gets off a spiral kick that will be left alone and get a good Weymouth roll inside the 10. The Wildcats will down it near the 7-yard line, and a good job by Stanton. His offense hasn't gotten untracked yet, but he'll pin the Boxers back for their second drive of the game, back inside the 10-yard line.
Something I'm noticing, Tim, Weymouth uses a rubber ball during the season. It looks like they're using their ball on their offensive series, and Brockton's using the customary NCAA leather football on their offensive possessions. I'm pretty sure it was that way last year, too.
I think you might be right, as we played over in Weymouth a year ago. This is an old rivalry that was renewed last year after the two Weymouth schools rejoined forces.
And Weymouth's had their way with Brockton in the past.
1st and 10 at the 7 for Mike Shaheen and the Boxers. Jason Mosley in motion, and Michael Bourne for his 3rd carry, looking for a hole over the right side, and is perhaps able to get to the 10-yard line.
Running off tackle, very dangerous to pitch when you're in this position. It's got to be right on target, and Mike Shaheen did a beautiful job on that last play. They just need a little bit of breathing room to set up their strategy here. Armin Colombo ran inside the first series. Look for him to start picking and choosing outside also. You want to trap a team inside. Think that you're going to go inside. Then all of a sudden blast outside. And with Mike Bourne's speed, anything can happen.
Gain of about 4 on the play to the 11-yard line. 2nd and 6 from there for Brockton. And moving on the left side of the line will push them right back where they started. Back to the 6-yard line on the 5-yard penalty. And that won't help. The rain has let up quite a bit. That's good news for everybody, players and fans alike.
Looked like Danny Reardon or Chris Psychos. I'm going to put my money on Danny Reardon, number 71. Jumped the gun just a fraction of a second earlier than Mike Gregory got the snap back.
You just see it in the right corner of your,
right
screen. That's 71 Reardon from the left tackle spot. So
good pick. It was 50-50, either Psychos or Reardon.
One or the other, and this will bring up a second down 11 at the 6-yard line. And Shaheen on the play fake gets it to Mosley. Mosley out near the 8-yard line. They'll get a few of them back, but the Boxers will be forced perhaps to put it up again on 3rd down and long.
You know, we look at Weymouth, they come in with a 3-6 record. A lot of the teams Brockton play, sure they have good records, some have bad, but no matter what, they always play their best against Brockton. And you're seeing that today also.
Some of the Weymouth players on the sidelines. 85 is Scott Garrard, a junior end. Shaheen will throw. He's under pressure. The screen pass intended for Psychos.
An ineligible receiver, probably.
Psychos couldn't have done anything with the ball had he caught it.
Weymouth will end up with great field position again.
I think Shaheen might have been looking for a roughing call, but good pressure by the front line of the Wildcats forces the incompletion and brings up a punting situation for the Boxers, again with a chance for Weymouth to get good field position. So nothing doing on offense for either team thus far. If anything, Weymouth has had the edge in terms of field position. Now they should get it inside Brockton territory. A good rush, but a good kick by Bursey and a fair catch by Fernandez at the 40-yard line of Brockton. So a good kick under pressure for Alan Bursey, the youngster. And Weymouth has their best chance to get some points on the board so far.
Weymouth has got to take advantage of this field position sooner or later. As we see every week, the longer the game goes, the better Brockton's defense gets. They have to take advantage of it right now. It's 5 minutes left in the first quarter. Both offenses haven't done a thing. And Brockton's been pinned back in their end.
So Stanton leads the charge again, 1st and 10 from the Brockton 40-yard line. Again, the rain has let up. It's still coming down, but very light at this point. And the pitch in the backfield, nets perhaps 2 yards.
Brent Warren in there
Kerosene.
first, creating a little havoc for the handoff there.
When the schools reunited in 1990, they compromised on a couple of things. They adopted the Weymouth North colors, the maroon and gold, and the Weymouth South nickname, the Wildcats. And as of a year ago, as you see the replay of Kerese's carry, they were still wearing the Weymouth North uniforms with WN on the sleeves. Now they've got new jerseys this year, so everything is in order. As we're faced with a 2nd and 9 now at the 39 of Brockton, Stanton wants to throw.
Good coverage.
Velios tangling with Pierce, and a flag flies. Both players losing their footing, and Pat Velios will be flagged for interference, I believe.
Pat Velios had good coverage. I think he might have lost his footing a little bit, slipped, and he had to make up with it with a little bump out of that safe territory.
They even have grabbed Pierce to steady himself, but it was right in front of the official, and that will give the Wildcats a 1st down at the 25-yard line of Brockton on the defensive pass interference call. So a break for Weymouth, and the Wildcats on the march. Deepest penetration by either team thus far, by far. It's Kerosene, again for about 2, maybe not even, as Belanger and for Sampieri and Warren and Reardon are all there to put the stops on Steve Kerosene. Kerosene, a junior, 5'9", 165. This is not a terribly big team for the Wildcats. Up front, they have only 2 players who break the 200-pound mark to open up the holes for the runners and keep the tacklers away for Stanton. 2nd down 9 at the 24. We'll slow developing play. Stanton going end zone, looking for his tight end, Taylor. And good coverage by Picard Jacques. Right there, step for step with Jim Taylor.
And Picard Jacques very easily could have been called for interference there. He had his hands on Taylor's back, but made up with it, kind of hit it a little bit there. Stanton sets up a beautiful pass, just a timing pattern. They know where they want to be. Watch his defense by Jacques. Perfectly timed, playing the ball all the way. Nice coverage.
Again, Picard Jacques, 2 interceptions against New Bedford. He was our Cape Cod Cafe player of the game in our last telecast, and playing well thus far today as well. 3rd down 9 again. A long passing situation for Stanton. They will pitch on the reverse. Fernandez has some room. Taylor
right
is
there.
tangled with Bernard. And Fernandez forced out of bounds, first by Landers. And then by Semper.
Taylor looked like he had Bernard by the shirt. I want to see that replay.
Watch to the left side as Fernandez heads in that direction. 82 is Jim Taylor. And he'll be blocking on 44, Craig Bernard. You decide for yourself whether it was a legal block or not. You may not get a good look at it.
We might have to look at the other angle there.
You won't really get a look at it there, as Bernard just shakes Taylor loose there. And the penalty going against the Boxers will push. It's a personal foul call. Perhaps a late hit out of bounds. And Weymouth may have already had the first down anyway. Now they're inside the Brockton 10 to the 6-yard line.
Here, let's take a look at this, Tim. I just want to see the holding call if it's there.
To the top right of your
hold
screen.
Right there. Maybe
Taylor,
not. That was just nice blocking by Taylor.
Bernard hanging on to see which way Fernandez would go. 1st and goal at the 6-yard line. Weymouth on the move, looking to break the ice here. And Stanton rolling right, trying to get around Mosley. Mosley will get a piece of him and pull him down. Not much there for Stanton. Got about a yard to the 5. But ran a long way to get that 1 yard.
Something always happens on Thanksgiving when Brockton plays Weymouth. I don't know. They have a magic control over Brockton. So far, at least.
We have 3:12 to go. Clock stopped here in the first period. No score. Second down and goal from the 5-yard line. The Boxers stepping offside, able to get back, but not really in position as Karasi goes for 2 yards to the 3. Bernard there. The left side of the Boxer line, Brent Warren in particular, stepped offside, was able to get back, but lost his footing on the way and wasn't much help.
That was a nice little dance step by one of the black shirts down there. Beautiful dance step. Luckily, they didn't run his way.
And a timeout called by the Wildcats as you see the rush by Karasi into the center of the line. A couple of black-shirted bodies already on the ground when that play happened. Timeout on the field, no score, 2:38 to play first quarter. From Rocky Marciano Stadium, I'm Tim Cox with Steve Valley. Thanks for joining us on Thanksgiving Day. A rematch from 1991 when Weymouth shocked the Boxers in the final 10 seconds. Stanton completing a short touchdown pass across the field.
Hey, dude. Hey. You can't see a thing, man. You just get down a little. Tell me to get down a little. Huh? Thanks, Will.
And as last year, as we mentioned in the pregame, the Boxers had already secured their rematch with St. John's Prep in the Division 1A Super Bowl game, and were caught perhaps looking ahead. This time they're not quite sure who the opponent will be. Could be St. John's, or rather it could be Zavarian, or it could be Waltham, depending on the outcome of a couple of other games.
Zavarian, St. John's, or Waltham. We'll have an update games concerning Brockton at halftime, along with a scholarship presentation.
That should be good for the first down. I'd been saying first and goal, but with the penalty on the previous play, the personal foul gave Weymouth a shot at a first down at the 2-yard line. So my mistake, as that carry is good for the yard that Weymouth needed for the first down. And now they'll have 4 more shots at it at the 2-yard line. Now it is first and goal. And that's a key play as Weymouth able to pick up the first down and keep this drive going instead of facing 4th down and goal. Stanton. Taylor, the ball carrier. Mike Taylor, he lunges forward for the touchdown.
Nice second effort. Nice second effort. Weymouth strikes first again.
Stacked up at the line of scrimmage, but Mike Taylor continued to push forward and into the end zone for the first score of the day.
Nothing fancy here. They're just going to run right behind the right side of the line.
Watch Taylor hit the wall.
He
and
just
continue to press forward.
like a scrum in a rugby match.
Exactly. And now Taylor with a chance to make it a 7-point game with Jim Taylor to hold. The kick is up and good, and it is 7-0 Weymouth with 2:06 to play here in the first quarter. The Wildcats thinking upset. They can't play the role of spoiler and knock the Boxers out of the playoff game, but they can knock them out of the top spot in Division I and in Eastern Massachusetts with an upset here today. In the early going, Weymouth behind the running of Mike Taylor, the short carry for the score, opens up a 7-0 lead. And the penalties hurting the Boxers there. The personal foul call in particular, as well as a defensive pass interference.
9 plays, 40 yards. Remember, Weymouth had outstanding field position after the punt.
And they got 15 yards on the defensive pass interference call. Another bunch,
25
more.
yard, 25 yard drive, basically.
But they had it when they needed it and get on the board first.
Watch for maybe an onside kick here to surprise Brockton. With the weather, you never know what can happen. That ball's slippery.
Adam Good, number 40, will do the kicking off. No, it is Taylor, so it is the onside kick. And good work by Michael Landers to just gather that one in. Good lined up for the kick, but it was Taylor who usually does the kicking, who put the ball in play. And Michael Landers will swallow it up and give the Boxers pretty good field position at their own 39-yard line. Boxers unable to move on their first 3 possessions. And now faced with a 7-point deficit. Shaheen, the give to Belanger. Lucian's first carry nets about a yard, maybe a yard and a half over the left side.
Nothing doing for Brockton early on. Nothing at all.
And Weymouth, which has struggled offensively, only putting more than 20 points on the board once this season, and that was a 35-0 blanking of Silver Lake early on. But they've been shut out once. They've been held to fewer than 10 points 4 times. And they're coming off a 28-16 loss to Plymouth, one of the comeback stories of 1992. Discussion on the Weymouth sidelines.
Peter Marciano is talking to the referee. I don't know where he came from.
He's making his way through the Boxer huddle now and over to the Brockton sideline. See Peter in the black coat with the white hat.
Clock is stopped also, so it must be an official timeout. Not sure what the problem is, but now the clock runs.
Clock running with about a minute and a half to go in period number 1. Second down 9 for the Boxers from their 40. Stay in the 2 tight end set. The option, and Bourne won't get it. Weymouth will. The pitch was a bit behind Michael Bourne, and he never had a chance to get back for it.
I believe 72, Lynn Campbell came up with it, yes.
I think you're right. It was Campbell in the bottom of the pile.
Watch this. Mike Bourne had no chance at all in getting this pitch.
Shaheen gets hit before he releases the ball. It may have affected the flight of the ball.
Fake to Lucian. Lynn Campbell actually applied the pressure. We got a play brewing on the line of scrimmage right there. Bourne had no chance.
1st and 10 at the 33 of Brockton. Weymouth again with a good chance to score. Looking over the middle is Stanton, throws it well behind Manny Fernandez. Fernandez looking for a call, but he had no prayer at catching that ball.
Troy Semper with the coverage.
A program note for you, we will be showing you the Brockton High School halftime show, the marching band with the halftime dancers, color guard, majorettes, and a special presentation coming up at halftime as well, following the band performance. We hope you'll stay with us for that. It's a big moment here at Brockton High School coming up this afternoon. So please stick around at halftime, enjoy the show, and a special presentation as well. 7-0 our score, Weymouth on top and with the ball in Brockton territory, now 2nd and 10. The rain very light at this point. By contrast to what it was at the outset of the game, it's virtually stopped. Looked like early movement on the right side of the Weymouth line, but Stanton completes the pass to tight end Jim Taylor, and it's good for a 1st down.
There's that quick drop that teams have so successfully used against Brockton. Stanton took a 2-step drop and found the tight end wide open, and he's a big kid. Took a few black shirts to bring him down.
Taylor slanting across the field for the completion. Really looked as if that play was developing slowly, but struck quickly down to the 19-yard line. Gain of 14 on the play, and the 1st down. Stanton, he wants to pitch it now. He's got Karasi. Karasi grabbed around the ankles by Belanger. Good tackle.
Beautiful.
Stopping Karasi after a short gain.
Beautiful. What a smart football player right there. Knew the ball was going outside. Grabbed him right by the ankles. Almost a one-arm tackle by Belanger. Ripped him right down. That'll bring up 2nd and 8.
Weymouth into the final 30 seconds. A play or two left here in the 1st quarter, trying to add to a 7-0 lead. 2nd and 8 at the 17-yard line. This is Taylor, Michael Taylor, and he's down near the 15 for Sampieri there on the stop.
That should do it for the 1st, Tim.
The clock will run down, and we'll switch ends. Weymouth, the only team to get on the board in quarter number 1. They take advantage of good field position, a couple of penalties, and a Michael Taylor touchdown and extra point. Give them a 7-0 lead as we finish the 1st quarter of play here on Thanksgiving Day. Stay with us for 2nd quarter action in just a moment.
You have the power to make the world beautiful again, to make the rivers clear, to make the forests green. Owner, you'll be recycling a most precious resource.
Tim, amazingly, Weymouth gained 34 yards in the 1st quarter. Brockton 14. Brockton had almost 40 yards in penalties, though. That's why Weymouth has had the good fortunes early on.
The defense of Weymouth forcing the Boxers deep a couple of times and taking advantage of the resulting good field position of their own. They have it now deep in Brockton territory, trying to add to a 7-0 lead. So as we said at the outset, both teams strong defensively throughout the season, both teams averaging about 12 or 13 points surrendered per game. And Weymouth now with a 3rd down 7. Stanton again, the quick pass. This time it's L.E. Pierce. And that 2-step drop is poison for the Boxer defense so far today. It's a 1st down for Pierce. And another venture inside the 10-yard line for Weymouth, down to the 5. Pierce was able to get.
That quick drop, we've seen every team Brockton play this year try it, and most of them have been successful.
First and goal from the 5. Weymouth using the pass to get in close on this drive, predominantly. And now into the backfield, Taylor, the runner. Craig Bernard shuts him down for a loss of 3.
You know, Taylor even stiff-armed Bernard, and that wouldn't keep big number 44 away.
I'm not sure he would have gotten much farther because Velios was also in the backfield. You see Bernard right there, good view of his pursuit.
Watch the straight arm here. That didn't keep 44. In fact, he got it right into his face. I'm sure Craig didn't appreciate that.
So loss of 3, second down and goal from the 8. 2 receivers, Pierce and Fernandez split wide right. The ball at the left hash mark for Weymouth. And now going in motion towards the right, Keresy. So they flood that right side. And a 4th player in that direction, Burns. It's a completed pass to Pierce, but a penalty marker down. I think we have illegal procedure. I think Burns is smacking himself in the head because he realized he moved illegally before the snap. So this will back the Wildcats up 5 more yards. Second straight loss of yardage.
A lot of movement over there. I guess we kind of knew the play was going right when everybody was on the right.
I think Burns' mistake was stopping and starting. He went in motion, stopped, and then started again without coming to a complete stop. That's a no-no. So 5 more yards will make it second and goal from the 13. They had been first and goal at the 5, lost 3 on the tackle by Bernard, and 5 more here on the penalty. This is what we're accustomed to seeing from the Brockton defense, making life miserable inside the 20-yard line. Very important for Brockton to stop Weymouth here. We're into the second quarter, the clock running, and the Boxers unable to get any points on the board or even many yards of offense. Stanton rolling right, over the middle for Taylor, complete, and down at the 1-yard line. Nice grab by the tight end.
Beautiful, beautiful call by head coach Joe Kelly. Taylor didn't even hesitate to block, ran straight out there and was wide open. And he's a big kid. He's tough to bring down. I'm surprised he just didn't fall into the end zone.
Watch the play. A planned rollout for Stanton.
Well, the tight end is a strong safety's man. You see the strong safety, Picard jogged nowhere in sight of him.
And we'll have another timeout called as Weymouth faced with 3rd and goal. Remember, they had 1st and goal from the 5, and even though they ended up back at the 13, they still could not get a first down. So there'll be 2 shots, more than likely, to get into the end zone from the 1-yard line against the Boxer defense.
Memories of last Thanksgiving, Timothy. Brockton
Absolutely.
falls behind, comes back, dominates the second half until the final minute. Let's hope that happens. Brockton has to do something.
We mentioned that Weymouth is coming off a loss to Plymouth in their last game. That was a 28-16 score, and for those of you who saw Brockton and Plymouth meet early in the season, this is not the same Plymouth team. That's a team on the climb.
They ripped off 5 straight wins, in fact.
Well, they won 4 out of 5 at this point. They had lost badly to Brockton, were shut out by Taunton, lost to North Quincy, an undefeated team, then got a win from Quincy. But after that, they defeated Bridgewater Raynham, a good team, Falmouth, New Bedford, Barnstable, and Weymouth, and most of those wins were pretty convincing. Plymouth, with another chance today, they'll be taking on a 2-7 Silver Lake team, so a very good chance for that team to finish at 6-4, and they'll be a team to watch in the years ahead as they make the climb back up to prominence in Division I football.
See if the MIAA allows them to.
That's right, more problems for them off the field than on these days. Taylor, the touchdown, his second. Mike Taylor going in for the score to extend the Weymouth lead.
Carbon copy of Taylor's first touchdown. Carbon copy.
And the hole gets deeper for the Boxers. 9:30 to play in the first half. And Mike Taylor will try to add on his 14th point of the day. His kick is up and good. And Weymouth leads 14-0 on 2 touchdowns and 2 points after by Mike Taylor. Set up this time by the passing of Mark Stanton.
And I believe Brockton will be penalized on the kick. I see a flag there, maybe a personal foul on the kicker. Take another look at the touchdown. Nothing fancy here. They're just running off tackle. Carbon copy of the first touchdown. Taylor's got a nose for the end zone today, I'll tell you. Brockton, unimpressive thus far on offense and defense. Weymouth obviously is up for the game. Brockton, although all week long they were telling everyone we've been concentrating on Weymouth, we want revenge, they've showed no signs of any concentration.
The turnover on offense gave Weymouth the ball that set up this touchdown. They've also come up with a couple of big defensive penalties, and those are mental and physical errors that more often than not cost you games.
Let's see if Brockton can get some field position right here. They need a long, sustaining drive. Keep Weymouth's offense off the field.
Their only decent field position was after the first Weymouth touchdown and the attempted onside kick, but that went for naught when the second play from scrimmage resulted in the fumble, which Weymouth turned into 7 points. So the Wildcats opening up a 14-0 lead, playing inspired football.
It was a 6-play, 35-yard drive, again held by a 5-yard Brockton penalty.
And that ought to be a penalty as the ball recovered
That ball
by Mike Delaney.
Just made 10 yards also, just made it.
And Delaney got popped by 42, Jay Wilson, even though he was down on the ground with the ball, doesn't have to be touched at all. Another attempted onside kick. The ball was kicked from the 45-yard line. As Steve suggested, there was a penalty against the Boxers. So again, Brockton getting the good field position after the attempted onside kick, but now they'll need to do something with it, trailing by 14 with 9.5 minutes to play in the first half. Shaheen goes to Bourne, and Michael Bourne gets a good hole and then is tripped up as he crosses midfield.
That was the first time I saw Mike Bourne really explode into the line. Running off tackle to the left behind Sykos and Reardon. That was the first time he really got a full head of steam as he entered the action in there.
Now, of course, a little tentative running today on the wet surface.
That could be the best blocking Brockton has provided for their running backs thus far in today's contest.
Gain of 6, second down and 4 from the Weymouth 49-yard line. And it's Bourne once again, this time good for first down yardage across the Weymouth 45. So the Boxers sustaining yardage and getting the first down.
Their first one of the afternoon, and we only have 8:45 left in the second period.
I think it's essential for the Boxers to stick with their game plan at this point.
I
Not
don't
to
think,
try to get the quick strike, but
no,
to just march off some
no.
yardage, let the line do the work, let the runners run.
I think a long sustaining drive would do Brockton better. A quick strike, sure, you score a touchdown, but you still haven't proved that you can drive the whole length of the field.
Need to establish some sort of offensive rhythm here. They're now at the 44 of Weymouth, 1st and 10. Stanton goes to Mosley, who hurdles over nose tackle Bill Lexner and gets about 2 yards.
Mike Bourne averaging 133 yards a game.
Nearly 8 yards a carry.
7.98. Yeah, I guess we can call that 8 yards a carry. Been held in check thus far, as is the whole Brockton offense.
Inside of 8 minutes to play now, first half. Weymouth leading 14-0. And it's Bourne. getting some good acceleration and across the 40 to the 39, but it'll be a 3rd down 5 from there.
Brockton's offensive line is finally starting to push the white shirts back. Remember against New Bedford, I said it was a good sign early on when your offensive linemen are downfield. They're just now starting to push Weymouth downfield.
But they need a big play here. 3rd down and 5 from the 39-yard line. And you may be able to see how the center of the field, particularly along the hash mark where the Boxers are, getting worn down to mud as the game progresses.
He's got Pina wide
Good play
open.
fake. The tight end Pina open has the 1st down inside the 25-yard line. Everybody up here saw it.
We got a late hit also. Personal foul.
Personal foul will
Might be on number 44, Ryan Scott, taking Joe Donovan's spot.
So shades of the Boxers moments ago when a personal foul tacked on 15 yards to what was already a 1st down.
Well, let's see how many yards this is going to be. Weymouth sidelines have been arguing. Maybe the referee picked the flag up. No, they're going to step it off.
It is, in fact, a personal foul against the Wildcats. 15 yards will put the Boxers inside the 10-yard line.
Brockton
Well,
gets
just
a break.
outside the 10.
Brockton gets their first break of the game.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but they were at the 22-yard line, and the ball now marked at the 11.
We have some possibilities for the Cape Cod Cafe player of the game, because for the first quarter and a half,
Not much
could have
happened.
gave it to us.
There's the touchdown again, or the conversion again, as Bourne just put the head down and went the 2.5 yards he had to go.
You see Brockton, the thrust in their offensive blocking right now.
Now it is imperative for the defense to do their job, stop Weymouth and give the Boxers a chance to take the lead with their next possession. Alan Bursey to kick off, and it's a squib kick that will be downed by Jim Taylor at the 34-yard line.
I'm not sure if Alan Bursey is slipping or if those are planned plays. I don't think they're planned plays, because you don't want to give a dangerous offense with Mark Stanton on the field any luxury of field position. See what the D can do, Tim. They need to come up big. I'm sure Billy Devon rallied his troops in the sidelines.
So penalties by the Boxers helped Weymouth on their first touchdown drive. Good offense did the job for them on their second, and it was penalties by Weymouth, or one anyway, that opened the door for the Boxers to get on the scoreboard and make it a 14-8 ball game. Stanton now from the option. Keresy has a lot of room on that right side and picks up close to 1st down yardage before being stopped by Troy Semper.
That's a nice option play right there. Good pursuit by Brockton, but they shot the gap a little bit too quick. By the time they were there, Keresy was already on the sideline.
Keresy showing good acceleration on the wet turf. He's a mudder, apparently. And
As
a big play.
opposed to
Well, there's just a little track talk there. So big play by Weymouth. The Boxers wanting to show some defensive muscle. And Weymouth gets 9 yards on their first play from scrimmage, and now we'll call a timeout, leading 14-8 with 5:40 to go in the first half. As you get a look at Mark Stanton.
good-sized kid, 6'3", 180 pounds.
Good quarterback size, long and lean.
We get a chance to talk to him last year at BC High. Very nice young man.
Once again, a reminder, we'll present the Brockton High School Marching Band in their final home halftime show. And following that, a special scholarship presentation.
Here's that
We
last
do hope you'll
play.
stay with us for that as you get another look at Keresy's 9-yard
Nice
carry.
pitch. You see Jason Mosley was in there, but he played Stanton a little bit too tight. That allowed Keresy to make it outside.
And a good block as well on Belanger that held him up and kept him away from the ball carrier.
Not a bad turnout by the Brockton and Weymouth faithful considering the inclement weather.
We had our doubts before the game, but the Brockton side has really filled in nicely.
I'm not going to lie to you. I was thinking of leaving and leaving everything to you.
Well, we've had worse weather, but still. Nice of the folks to turn out for this one today. And they're seeing a good football game, a little sloppy, but competitive and exciting as Stanton is going for the distance. Semper on the coverage, and the Weymouth fans calling for interference, but
Maybe interference, but that ball was so underthrown. I don't think he could have got it, especially with the field conditions. It's going to be impossible to stop short and come back.
I think that was the problem. The ball was behind them as both players attempted to turn around and come back for it. They ran into each other trying to regain their footing. Fernandez, the intended receiver, Semper on the coverage as Stanton went for the big play.
Stanton showing he has an arm. This ball, I'm not sure if something happened to it. Didn't get the spiral. You see, it's like a wounded duck up there. Not even near the receivers.
Big play, 3rd down 1. Both players sliding down, as you see there. From the 43 of Weymouth, and straight ahead, this will be close. I don't believe that the ball carrier made any progress. It was Keresy, or Mike Taylor, check that on the carry.
They're not even going to measure this.
I don't think he even got back where they were.
I say go for it. They've been very successful with the off-tackle play with Taylor in short yardage situations on both their touchdowns. I say Joe Kelly's got to go with this. But we're not going to know because Stanton's also the punter. He could do that Brockton shift.
We could see a fake here. We could see a lot of possibilities. Consider as a lot of new personnel checking in, so apparently a punting unit is on the way in. It is a gamble because the Boxers just getting their offense in gear on the last drive. If you give them the ball inside your own territory, you're inviting them to go take the go-ahead score. So apparently Weymouth will play it conservatively and go for the punt. Stanton back to kick, Velios back to punt. And a whistle, we'll have a flag for delay of game.
Rain just picked up considerably. It's now pouring out.
Assistant coaches on the Boxer sideline were jumping up and down and shouting at the officials that the Wildcats had run out of time, and in fact they did. So a 5-yard penalty against Weymouth for delay of game.
Easy choice now.
Yeah, 4th and 6 from your own 38 is a different ball game.
Although against New Bedford, remember that call Wayne Hamlet made? 4th and a yard on their 30-foot. Now that looks like fun, I'll tell you.
That's the sideline, not the center of the field, but it still gives you a pretty good idea.
I know my mom wouldn't let me in her house with those shoes on. Or if I did go in, I'd never go back.
How many times have I told you to come in out of the rain, young man? So the rain picks up. The delay of game call on Weymouth brings up 4th and 6 from their 38. And Michael Bourne joins Velios as the deep men. Stanton gets a kick off the side of his foot, but another good hop inside the 30-yard line and right down to the Brockton 25. So all in all, not bad for Weymouth. They didn't get the score, but they'll pin the Boxers back at their own 25 with 4:03 to play in the second quarter. A lot of folks here, I think, thought they were out of the woods when the rain let up.
So didn't we?
And right now, they're back in the soup. So Brockton with the Mike Bourne touchdown run on their last possession and the 2-point conversion by Bourne. Trying to take the lead here, trailing by 6. It is Bourne. Lunging forward for about 4 yards.
Weymouth's defense is very impressive today, Tim. Especially with Joe Donovan missing. Adam Good is the leading tackler for the Wildcats, 96 tackles total. A couple of other big guys, Jim Taylor, Shuey Cunningham, Wilson, number 42.
I'm going to tell you something, Shu Cunningham at 6'1", 230 is a really big shoe.
To fill.
2nd down 6 at the 29. Bourne evades a tackle and gets out across to the 34-yard line before being brought down by Joe Donovan's replacement, Brian Scott, bringing up third down, short yardage for the Boxers. Tim Cox with Steve Valley. Happy Thanksgiving. It's a muddy one out there for these teams, but I'm not sure they even notice. Thanksgiving Day football, the final one here at Marciano Stadium for 1992 for the class of 93, their final chance to show something in front of the home crowd. And they've got football on their minds, not the weather. As the Boxers take a timeout now with 2:46 to play in the half.
Mike Shaheen saw something he definitely didn't like, wasted no time in signaling the sidelines.
And this gives us an opportunity to tell you about an upcoming boosters meeting, the football boosters of Brockton High School. The Save Our Sports Committee invites all interested parties to come to the meeting to keep the freshman and JV teams alive. It's a touchy subject in a lot of cities, and Brockton is no exception. The football boosters will meet. These are two separate meetings, just to avoid the confusion which I've already demonstrated. The football boosters will meet on December 7th. That's a Monday night at 7 p.m. So if you want to help out the football boosters, there's a Wildcat cheerleader. She has a very small cat at home who's been walking all over. And the second meeting to tell you about is a week later, the Save Our Sports meeting, which is for the purpose of keeping the freshman and JV teams going, will be Monday, December the 14th. Both of those meetings will be held at the Brockton High School Red Cafeteria.
And you can call Tom Pileski at 580-7546 for more information.
And somebody's offsides. It looked like Scott was well offsides, but there's no flag. The linebacker, Scott blitzing, appeared to be in before the play, but the Boxers will be satisfied with the first down carry here.
Brockton took advantage of the blitz. They gave it to their front man, Lucian Belanger, who ran in the hole
Created by the linebacker.
Exactly.
And Brian Scott was left looking over his shoulder at the ball carrier, who picked up the first down. First and 10 at the 40 for Brockton. 2.5 minutes to play in the half. Boxers would dearly love to get 7 or 8 on the board here and go to the locker room with their first lead of the day. The fake to Belanger, looking for Alan Bursey, who slips and falls. Coverage by Jim Taylor. Bursey, who of course is a big, tall kid, looked like he had a good opportunity there, but the footing
big, tall kid, those big, long legs lost their footing, though, didn't they?
And it's a long crash to the ground from where he stands.
I wouldn't know about that. Mike Shaheen, this wasn't a very well-thrown ball either.
It was a pretty
good
good
fake. It maybe slipped out of his hand. Beautiful camera work.
It looked like you could catch it from here, right? But both Taylor and Bursey counting the blades of grass when that one landed. Second and 10 from the 40, just inside the 40, actually. Bourne hit quickly.
Lynn Campbell again. He's been very impressive for Weymouth.
But credit Bourne for being able to get 2 yards out of that when Campbell hit him immediately. Clock running inside of 2 minutes now, and the Boxers may have to put it up if they want to keep this drive alive, faced with 3rd and 8. Bursey in at wide receiver along with Velios. But the call goes to Mike Bourne. Michael Bourne out near the 45. He'll be well short of first down yardage.
Armin Colombo might go for this. Might let the clock run.
You may be right. He may have been getting them closer. It's 4th down and 4 now at the 45.
Now a timeout.
Timeout with 1:13 to play. So if he hasn't already made up his mind, Armin Colombo will get a chance to think about how to handle this situation here. Here's the carry by Bourne, who has the only Boxers points of the day, the touchdown and the 2-point conversion. So Zavarian and St. John's squaring off today for the championship of the Catholic Conference. The winner will go to the postseason. How's that for excitement? Both teams going in knowing they have a chance.
Yes, they have a chance. If Zavarian beats St. John's and Arlington beats Somerville, Zavarian's in the Super Bowl. If St. John's wins, doesn't matter who wins, Arlington or Waltham or whoever, St. John's, by enrollment figures, is in the Super Bowl. If Arlington loses and St. John's loses, Brockton gets their revenge on Waltham. We say revenge, maybe Suburban League revenge.
From the old days. So you got all that? You will by the time you see the evening news tonight. And you see exactly who the matchups are, however they get there.
We will have an update at halftime. I have to go downstairs to the cellular phone and make a couple of phone calls. We'll have updated scores of the Arlington-Somerville game and the Severian-St. John's game.
Which, of course, is as much for our own interest as anything else
Absolutely.
at this stage. So the Boxers now will set up for the punt. Bursey is in there to kick. 4th and 4 from their 45. And he will put it up, in case you were thinking fake. A good kick by Bursey, sending Weymouth all the way back to their 15-yard line. Excellent kick by the sophomore. And the Boxers just decide to stay put. They will get the ball to start the second half, so perhaps Armin Colombo thinking, let's use the last minute to shut down Weymouth here, keep it at a 6-point game, and try to do some damage in the second half. The rain has, again, nearly stopped.
And Tim, I just noticed the gazebo next to the Little Red Schoolhouse on the other side of the street is packed with fans.
We'll get a shot of that if we can to show you some of the less stalwart fans. Stanton rolling left.
Nothing.
Now looking to run. Belanger in pursuit. Gets a hand on him. Stanton will slip down before Semper hits him at the 25. It should be a first down for Weymouth, but the clock now stopped with 51 seconds to play.
Beautiful coverage by 15 for Card Jacques. There's Mark Stanton. Stanton had nothing at all, and there are the fans. That's across the street. They're a good 100 yards away from the field. We're going to try to show you the
gazebo in the street, and there you see our car waiting for us to take us home after the game.
That was a secret, Tim. That was a secret. That's our halftime warm-up mobile.
Clock running, so Weymouth has apparently elected to just give it 1 or 2 more shots inside of 30 seconds to play now. And Stanton will just run it up the middle with Kersey, and Landers putting the shoulder to Kevin Burns. Burns caught off guard. It was a legal hit. As Brent Warren makes the tackle, and Weymouth will allow the clock to run down and settle with a 6-point lead at the midpoint of this one.
A little better in the second quarter for Brockton. At least they had a little bit of offense. Their defense coming back. I think we're in for a very exciting second half of football.
And the Boxers will start the second half with the ball. 14-8 is our halftime score. Again, stay with us for the halftime show and the scholarship presentation coming up in just a moment. Halftime at Marciano Stadium. The Boxers trailing 14-8 after falling behind 14-zip in the second quarter. A special presentation we were telling you about is coming up in just a couple of minutes, a scholarship presentation. But first, they've been waiting all season to don their new uniforms, and until a few minutes ago they were still wrapped in plastic. But they've shed the rain gear, and the Brockton Boxer Marching Band under the direction of Vincent Macrina, along with the halftime dancers, color guard, and majorettes, in their new duds for their final halftime show here at home at Marciano Stadium for 1992. Enjoy the show and stay with us for the scholarship presentation right after the band. time in 1992 here at Marciano Stadium. The Brockton High School Marching Band, under the direction of Mr. Vincent Macrina, with the halftime dancers, color guard, and majorettes. Final performance here for the members of the class of 1993. And a terrific show as always. And again, the solo by Kevin Delaney on trumpet.
In fact, I
Nice
saw
job.
Kevin Delaney. He introduced himself to me last night down at the card. Thanks for the special note, he said.
He gets the star treatment around here.
He deserves it, as does everyone involved with the marching band, majorettes, halftime dances, and Vin Macrina, who does such an outstanding job with this project. I mean, it's a big band. I've never seen a bigger high school football band or a bigger marching band in any high school. And they should be commended for a job well done.
They don't get much bigger. You see the Boxers getting set to come back on the field. Here they come. But there will be a special moment coming up before the second half and play resumes.
Tim, little check on scores concerning Brockton. Severian up big on St. John's in the second quarter, 20-6. I believe we're ready for the presentation right now.
President of the Brockton Rotary Club, and Coach Armin Colombo of the Brockton High School football team will make two very special presentations to the family of the late Jay McGillis. For some of those who might be unfamiliar with the Brockton Rotary Club, we are about one of 25,000 clubs worldwide, in 177 countries with over 1 million Rotarians. The club meets every Thursday, where over 140 Brockton Rotarians get together to help bring the world together for a better place to live. This year's motto is "Real happiness is helping others." Last year, the club alone donated over $15,000, including $10,000 to Brockton High School in scholarships and to local charities. Today, the Brockton Rotary Club is proud to honor the memory of Jay McGillis, number 31, an outstanding Brockton High School and Boston College football player, student, and person. Jay was a very special person to all who knew him, and the Brockton Rotary Club wishes to keep Jay's memory alive. And we will, as of this day, in the form of first, a scholarship will be given annually in Jay's name. With the help of Coach Colombo and the Brockton Rotary Club, a Brockton High School student athlete who best exemplifies the true spirit of Jay McGillis will receive a $500 scholarship. Furthermore, as of this day, the Brockton Rotary Club would like to present the McGillis family with Rotary's highest award, the Paul Harris Fellow, meaning Jay will join but 22 Brockton Rotarians in becoming a Paul Harris Fellow, and a check for $1,000 will be donated to Rotary International so that they may continue to work on the worldwide projects such as their Polio Plus campaign, where over $30 million was raised so that polio could be wiped out completely around the world. In closing, as President Karen Aioli presents the award to the McGillis family, we ask that you remember Jay McGillis as we at the Brockton Rotary Club will. And just as Jay will be an Eagle forever at BC, he will be a boxer forever at Brockton High School. Thank you from all the proud members of the Brockton Rotary Club, and happy Thanksgiving to all.
A nice moment. And our thanks to the Brockton Rotary Club for that special presentation. And Jay McGillis's memory will have lived on here regardless for a long, long time, and now it will be in a more tangible form, a scholarship and the Paul Harris Fellowship presented to the McGillis family. Mr. and Mrs. McGillis, you see, leaving the field. You know, this is one of the saddest things to have happened around the Brockton High School athletic programs, in my memory anyway, which is much shorter than a lot of folks around here. It was this day a year ago when many of us learned of the nature of Jay's illness, and even at that point, people were optimistic.
It was hidden.
It was kept quiet, but still those around him were optimistic. Jay himself was optimistic throughout, and people believe that his physical and mental and spiritual strength would carry him through. It carried him through for as long as it could.
As far as it could, exactly.
And we lost Jay this past summer. This season, as you know, has been dedicated to Jay McGillis, the banner hanging beneath the scoreboard and the number 31 on the backs of all of the Boxer helmets. Tangible reminders of the inspiration for the season, as it has been at Boston College. The locker preserved at Alumni Stadium, the 31 worn over the hearts of the BC players, and certainly that was an inspiration as they carried out their finest campaign in many years on the way to a January 1st bowl game. So Jay's memory has produced outstanding records. What do we have? A combination of 16, 3 and 1 coming in today between Brockton High School and Boston College.
It just showed the effect that the late great Jay McGillis had on people. I mean, never heard a foul word said about Jay McGillis. A classy kid through and through, and of course our thoughts were always with the McGillis family. Very touching moment this afternoon.
And we do take this opportunity as well to acknowledge the McGillis family and recognize what they've meant to the city as well. As we look at the numbers from the first half, Weymouth on top on the scoreboard, barely on top on total yardage.
Actually, it's pretty even. The one big thing that sticks out is Mike Bourne's turnover that led to a touchdown. Even game, although Weymouth, I think, had the big mo for a majority of the first half. Brockton proved they can drive on Weymouth. They need to right here. They'll get the ball in the second half. Let's hope for a big Brockton drive all the way into the Weymouth end zone. Should we expect an onside kick?
That's been the case both times thus far for Mike Taylor. Neither one has worked, but it's not necessarily a high percentage play if it works for you once in the course of a game.
Now Brockton takes their hands people out of the front line. Chris Psychos and big number 73, Hector Civilian, on for Brockton now.
And more changes as Pina and Bellios switch sides at the 30-yard line. Mike Taylor to kick off. He's been Mr. Offense.
Look at that.
Well, he's been out there for everything. Taylor with both touchdowns, both points after, and now his third kickoff of the day. So he's been a busy man. The Boxers will receive, trailing 14-8. They fell behind 14-0, were hurt by penalties. Personal foul call, a defensive pass interference call helped the Wildcats on their first touchdown drive. The Wildcats as well hurt by a penalty, leading to the Boxers score. But surprisingly, only the one turnover in the first half, a muddy field and just the one loose ball, and that was more execution than a problem with the weather conditions. The ball just came to a near stop in the mud. The Boxers actually helped out by the field conditions there. No bouncing on that mud, and Steve Pina was able to pick it up and get a yard or two out of it.
It was on its side. You very rarely see a ball bounce like that, especially straight as an arrow. But Brockton have some good field position. Let's see if they can take advantage of it. Mike Shaheen comes out into the huddle. Expect more of the same.
So for the third time, Mike Taylor attempts the onside kick, and the Boxers recover cleanly. So they'll start at their own 37-yard line, 1st and 10, trailing by 6 as we begin the second half of play. Michael Bourne wrapped up immediately by number 40. That's the linebacker, Adam Good, one of the captains here for the Wildcats, and for a rare time, Bourne does not escape the initial tackle.
Nice pursuit by Good.
A loss of a yard, bring up 2nd and 11 from the 36.
I'm going to take a look at this right now. Watch Mike Bourne just blast through the line. Adam Good rather blast through the line. One-on-one against Bourne, he gets the better of him this time.
A left leg tackle. Shaheen looking to throw, screen pass, and almost intercepted. Jason Mosley, the intended receiver, slipped and nearly tipped it into the hands of a Weymouth receiver. Might have been Adam Good again, who was the nearest to the ball. And that stops the clock with 11-12 to play on the incomplete pass here in the third quarter. But The Boxers, more importantly, faced with 3rd and 11.
And their receivers are in, so expect it to be aired out. Velios, Troy Semper, Alan Bursey are in the lineup.
Semper and Velios to the near side. Bursey at the top of your screen. On 3rd and 11. To the right side, Bursey, nice catch!
Looks like he got enough for the first down, all the way up to the 50. That'll do it.
That's more than enough by 2. Alan Bursey started the season in the offensive lineup as a receiver. Did not play in that position after the first game, and he makes a big catch here using those long arms.
Second catch of the year for Alan Bursey. Beautiful. Used his height, sort of like a Harold Carmichael type receiver. Long legs, then turned it in for a gain.
He got the first down yardage is what he did.
Yeah,
he
he
had
did.
not had it when he made that fine catch. And Bursey with a nice grab, gain of 14 on the play and a first down for the Boxers right at midfield. Belanger busting through for about 3.
Crowd gas. Looked like a fumble, but Belanger had it. Tough to find the ball right now with all the mud.
Also getting tougher to distinguish the white jerseys from the black jerseys, isn't it?
True football through and through.
And Mark Stanton checking back into the defensive secondary, replacing 42 Jay Wilson. We saw Stanton on a couple of plays in the first quarter. He's, of course, the quarterback, and it's not often that you see the quarterback going to the other side of the ball in high school play, particularly a quarterback who's such a key to his offense as Stanton is. 2nd down 8 from the 48 of Weymouth, and Mosley in motion. Bourne will follow Jason Mosley and get maybe 2 more to the 46.
Brockton doing it in small chunks. That's the way their offense has been for most of the year, although there have been a few explosions by Lucian Belanger and Michael Bourne. They'll take it as it comes.
And on a good day, those chunks are 4, 5, 6 yards at a
Yeah,
time.
they are.
Here, it's been a couple. And setting up 3rd down, fairly long situations. This time 3rd down and 6 from just outside the 46. The Boxers do need to cross the 40-yard line of Weymouth to get the first down yardage. Bursey may have left early. Flag flies, and I think that's the case. Bursey, the intended receiver, and it's tipped away at the last second. A flag down at that point as well. Stanton broke up the play.
I think that might be offensive pass
I think you
interference
might be
on
right.
Bursey.
You might be
He
right.
pushed off on the defender.
And Bursey getting an earful now from Jim Taylor, who was the coverage man. Either way, we got at least 1 penalty on Brockton.
Alan Bursey with the double no-no. Now watch the end of this play. I'm not sure if we can pick it up. Alan Bursey pushed off on the defender.
That is the call. In fact, offsides Brockton and offensive pass interference Brockton, and number 81 gets tagged with both of them. So it's a dubious and rare achievement. 2 penalties on the same play. The Boxers will get backed up, of course, on the big penalty, the 10-yarder. Actually 15 yards on the offensive pass interference, and the official is confused about where the ball should be. It was at the 46 of Weymouth. And the 15-yard penalty will push them back to the 39 of Brockton and bring up 4th down and long.
You gotta wonder, is something the matter with Mike Landers? He hasn't been on the offensive receiving corps.
So 15-yard penalty and loss of down brings up 4th and 21, and the Boxer drive will come to a screeching halt here. Bursey on to do the kicking, gets off a beauty, and loose, but gathered in again, I think. Yes, the official indicates that the receiver did come up with it. That was Mike Taylor, who lost the handle momentarily, but gathered it in again at his own 26-yard line. So Weymouth takes over for the first time. The Boxers do not march for the score on the opening possession of the half.
Alan Bursey gets off a whopper right here. He's really improved in his punting.
Just a sophomore. He has a couple of years of promise, trying to follow in the footsteps of big brother Jay, who did many great things on the field for the Boxers.
Lost it for a second here. Gained it right back, though. Pat Velios and Larry Stroud were right on him.
1st and 10 from the Weymouth 26. Stanton rolling right. He's got a receiver on that side, Pierce. Stanton wants to run with the ball rather, and forced out of bounds after a gain of 3 or 4.
Brockton is forcing him to run because the defensive backs have close man-to-man coverage on the receivers. They're flushing Stanton right out. He will not stay in the pocket. Every pass is a rollout. You got to credit the Brockton defensive backfield with great play right now.
The big Brent Warren in pursuit, forcing Stanton out of bounds at the 29-yard line, so it will be 2nd and 7 from there. Fernandez in motion. And Stanton looking to the right side. Good long pass, but too long for Ellie Pierce, with Troy Semper step for step. And it'll be 3rd and 7. It's a pretty pass, just wasn't on target.
No, not even near on target.
Again, we'll be selecting the Cape Cod Cafe Most Valuable Player at the conclusion of today's game. And should the Boxers score some more points, adding more dollars to the Dollars for Points program from the Cape Cod Cafe, they need, well, 48 more dollars to break the $1,000 mark, so it's still within reach. The immediate concern, stopping Weymouth on 3rd and long here. 3rd and 7 from the 29-yard line. And Stanton in the backfield, nailed by Stroud, never had a chance.
Blitz. First time Brockton has really blitzed all day, and they hit pay dirt.
First sack of the day of Mark Stanton, and the Wildcats will turn the ball over.
Larry Stroud's 2nd sack of the year. There's been so many hurry-ups, and you'd think there's a lot of sacks by Brockton, but there really aren't. The Sampieri leads with just 2.
And now Stroud with 2. He comes in on those passing situations. Stanton to punt. It's a low punt and will roll to a stop at the 37-yard line of Brockton. So the teams exchange punts in the early going of the 3rd quarter with 8:20 to play in period number 3. The Boxers still trail 14-8. There is a penalty marker down near midfield, so we'll await the official signal.
When it's around there, maybe looks like ineligible man downfield.
Obviously, there's no blocking penalty because nobody was blocking.
Another penalty on Brockton. Illegal use of the hands on Brockton.
That's a mystery. Again, when no one was attempting to return the ball, why would you get tangled up in that kind of situation? And the penalties, on many occasions, even during their 8-game winning streak, the Boxers have been hurt by penalties, and today it's happening again, and they're frequently big ones.
They don't just go for the regular ones.
Yeah.
They like everything big, including their penalties.
If you're gonna get penalties, go for the gusto, 15 yards or more. It'll be 1st and 10 from the 26, so the Boxers will lose 10 yards of field position on the illegal use of hands penalty. The pitch to Bourne. Everybody holds their breath as they go back to the option. And Bourne, breaking tackles, does lose the ball, but out of bounds as an official falls into the pile.
That should bring it into Weymouth territory, about the Weymouth 49, it looks like from here. Let's see where they spot it.
I think they're going to mark him down at the 46 of Brockton.
46? No. Oh, no, no, I'm sorry. I'm on. All right. I'm certainly not on the ball. That's what
the numbers have vanished along with much of the grass on the field, so it's frequently guesswork to come up with the line of scrimmage. So the Boxers quickly come back with the 1st down following the penalty. The running of Bourne. That's the first time they went back to the option since the fumble, isn't it?
It is.
And again, that fumble was not really weather related, as Bourne simply was not able to reach back behind him for the errant pitch from Shaheen. This time he got it, and he got the 1st down. 1st and 10 at the Brockton 44. And Belanger for 5 yards up the middle.
See, we can go all the way back to the Super Bowl against Dedham. Armin Colombo doesn't like going outside that often because it means that the defense is going to look for it often. If you go inside a majority of your offensive runs, Weymouth is thinking inside. Therefore, every once in a while, the option play outside is going to get a big game for you.
Second down, 6. It's a gain of 4 for Belanger, and this is Michael Bourne. Close to first down yardage. He needed to get to the 46 of Weymouth, and he's very close.
I think he'll have it right here.
He's got it. They won't even bring him out to measure. And with 7:23 in the period, the Boxers pick up another first down and move into Weymouth territory.
Nice off-tackle run. Watch Bourne pick and choose his hole right here.
Following Jason Mosley through the gap.
Nice run by Michael.
Belanger does a little hurdling into the secondary and close to another Brockton first down. He appears to have it at the 35-yard line.
Nice job of running by Lucian, all on his own. He doesn't have any help. He doesn't have the luxury of having 2 blockers in front of him. Nice piece of running. Lucian trying to clean himself off. I think that's going to be pretty much useless.
A futile effort today, but as a ball carrier, he wants those hands and arms fairly clean. Get the mud away. That'll slick up the ball a little bit. It is a first down at the 35-yard line. 2 in a row for Brockton. And Bourne over the left side spins and is shoved into the ground by Roy Ward, one of the cornerbacks. Bourne able to get about 2 yards, bringing up 2nd and 8 with 6 minutes to play in the third period. 14-8. Weymouth on top. They took the early lead, not terribly early, but they jumped out to a 14-0 lead in the second quarter, aided by penalties and a turnover by the Boxers, but with some effective passing from Mark Stanton as well. The Boxers came back with a Michael Bourne touchdown and trail by 6. Jason Mosley looking for a hole and then looking to make a hole. Only can get about a yard.
Jason looks shaken up on the misdirection play.
He took a lot of abuse on that play. Hung out to dry on the left side of the field.
Watch them. They look like they're going to go right. A little misdirection. Mosley cuts back to the left, and really nothing happening there.
The whole idea of the play is that there'll be no one left on that side of the field, but you see Ward there. You see Mosley try to avoid Ward.
You see Mosley stop and cut and slide about 7 inches.
And then get maybe 500 pounds of Wildcat.
Hopefully Jason will be all right. That looks to be a knee problem. Not good news.
Never good news.
His brother Jamal got hurt during the Leominster game with a knee problem.
Well, while Jason is tended to, we'll remind you again that we'll select the Cape Cod Cafe MVP at the conclusion of the telecast, and also remind you that barring unforeseen circumstances, we'll be at Boston University's Nickerson Field on December the 5th to bring you tape delay coverage of the Boxers' second consecutive Division 1A playoff game. Opponent as yet undetermined. And Jason gets a hand as he limps off the field, but under his own power.
He looks like he's in pain. I don't know if we'll see him back.
This will change things for the Boxers. They've used those 3 in the backfield almost exclusively since game 2 on the schedule.
They'll send Troy Semper in. Remember the speed that he showed early on in the year.
Well, Semper was part of the starting backfield in game 1. And not that he took any of the blame, but a change was made. And Belanger checked in and has been unable to find his way out of the lineup ever since. He gets the call now and gets yardage very close to the first down. Even on 3rd and 7, Belanger is acting like Mr. Automatic.
What this is going to create is more work for Lucian Belanger because Semper's not big enough to be a fullback. He's going to be sort of your wing back. He's going to be running a lot a lot of decoy routes, maybe sometimes getting the ball, but a lot more pressure and responsibility going to fall on number 35.
And it'll also make life more difficult for Michael Bourne. Mosley carries the ball, but I think his primary value in the Boxer backfield is helping to open holes for the speedy Michael Bourne. And he's done that extremely well, along with Belanger. Clock running inside of 4.5 minutes to play. They will mark Belanger just short by a foot. And now is where you could use that other big body in the backfield as the Boxers go for it on 4th and short. Shaheen keeps it and has the first down. He was clearly across the 25-yard line before being pushed back like a tackling sled.
And his feet didn't move. He just slid in the mud.
Both sides of the field cheer because both saw what they thought was success. But
forward progression.
Shaheen had the forward progress across the 25, and without measuring, the officials will put the ball at the 24-yard line. First down, Brockton. It's their 4th of this drive. And Shaheen's been effective at this task throughout the season.
Now watch him. He looks like he's doing a moonwalk here. His feet aren't moving. They just drove him back, courtesy of the mud.
Belanger across the 20-yard line to the 18, gain of 6. And the Boxer running attack continues to impress. Now down to 3.5 minutes in the third quarter. Now mark the ball down at the 19, so it'll be 2nd and 5 from there. Bourne down near the 15-yard line. They'll mark him down at the 16, so it will be 3rd down.
Brockton, all they have to stay away from right here is turnovers.
A Weymouth conference on the sidelines. A couple of JV players talking to perhaps one of the assistants.
Well, what are you having for dinner today? I'm looking forward to it.
3rd and a long one for the Boxers just outside the 15-yard line of Weymouth. Belanger again showing Troy Semper that he too can do the hurdles.
I don't know as well as Troy Semper, but
Well, there aren't many who can do it as well as Troy
I think
Semper.
I'd have to take Troy in that matchup.
Second time today, Belanger has to go airborne to pick up a first down, and he does, to the 12-yard line. And this is the kind of sustained drive the Boxers have been looking for all day. Even their touchdown drive came with a quick strike pass to Steve Pina, followed by a personal foul that added 15 yards. And 2 plays later, 1 play later, in fact, Bourne was in the end zone. So it was more of a quick strike than you might have expected. Here, it's been the long march. And that's Jason Mosley back in the lineup, a flag thrown into the pile.
That's good news for Brockton right there. Not the flag, but Jason Mosley. A knee injury usually means the end of the game.
But the penalty will go against the Boxers.
Shoot themselves in the foot again. Going to see Jason right here. Nice to see number 34 in the backfield.
It's a holding call. The Boxers can get a first down at the 2-yard line, and they're backed up at the 20.
Watch for the screen pass here. Misdirection screen. Maybe roll out right, come back left.
We'll call it 2nd down and about 18, though the scoreboard says 7th down and 17. But we'll just go with what we know. Bourne following the other runners. And down to the 15-yard line. He gets back a few. Call it a gain of 6 on the play to the 14, and we approach the 1-minute mark of period number 3, and no one has broken through in this quarter.
Well, Weymouth doesn't have to break through if it stays this way. Brockton's the one who has to score.
Boxers have had the ball a long time.
14-play drive. It started on their own 20.
Second down, 11. Bourne again, same play. There he goes, touchdown! No penalty markers. The Boxers have tied it up.
Explosion out of the Brockton backfield. Both sides of the offensive line at times have been blowing away Weymouth. This time it's Brent Warren over the right side, running off tackle and untouched all the way into the end zone.
14-yard touchdown run for Bourne, his second of the day. And because of the two-point conversion on the first touchdown, the Boxers have already tied it and now can count on Alan Bursey to try to give them the lead. They will go for the kick with Shaheen to hold. First extra point attempt of the day for Bursey is up, and it is good. Boxers lead 15-14 with 42 seconds to play in the third quarter. That produces $28 more in the Cape Cod Cafe Dollars for Points program, giving us a season total of $980 contributed by the Cape Cod Cafe into the Brockton High School Athletic Fund. $980 thanks to the touchdown run of Michael Bourne and the extra point of Alan Bursey. 15-14 Brockton.
14-play, 80-yard drive for Brockton. Stats on Brockton thus far: Mike Bourne, 18 rushes, 96 yards. Belanger, who's been very effective, 8 rushes, 43 yards. That was the drive we've been talking about all game long, Tim.
The drive started dubiously with a penalty for illegal use of the hands on the kick. The punt by Mark Stanton. Backed the Boxers up to the 26-yard line, and they went forward almost all the way. One penalty for holding on the way there, but the Boxers cashing in. Michael Bourne, his second score of the day. He has scored the 2 touchdowns and the 2-point conversion. 14 of the 15 Boxer points. Bursey to kick off a long line drive, taken by Burns at the 13-yard line. Burns, a good return out across the 30-yard line.
Brockton going for the strip.
Kevin Burns to the 35, Picard Jacques with the help from Larry Stroud and also Mike Delaney
Timothy,
with the tackle on Burns.
One sorry statistic for Brockton: 7 penalties for 70 yards. That's almost as much total offense that they gained in the first half.
Weymouth now finding themselves behind for the first time today, with 34 seconds to go in period number 3. Has a 1st and 10 at their 36-yard line. 2 wide receivers to the top of your screen, and now Manny Fernandez going in motion to the near side. A couple of yards forward for Steve Kerosy, and a flag flies
on Brent Warren. Oh, the worst just gets worse. I'm telling you. No need for a penalty right there. No need at all.
Well, the question, of course, is when the whistle blew, Kerosy was still fighting for yardage, and the Boxers kept putting on the hits to try to stop him. If the whistle had blown, then it's a late hit. Lucian Belanger is appealing his case to the referee, but it's a 15-yard penalty. Another personal foul call.
Tell you what, nobody's hurting Brockton more than themselves.
We just mentioned 7 penalties, 70 yards, and now that's another 15.
8 for 85.
And Weymouth very quickly into Brockton territory at the 47-yard line. Penalties helped their first touchdown drive immensely, including a personal foul call. And now Stanton rolling right and running. Nice move. And ridden out of bounds inside the 30 of Brockton.
Stanton's proving he's very mobile back there, very mobile. He's got nothing in the passing way because of the tight defensive back coverage. He's not afraid to put the ball under and take off. Been very successful today on doing that.
They put a deke on Lucian Belanger to get himself the extra yardage and picked up the first down at the 29-yard line of Brockton. The teams will change ends as the third quarter comes to a close. The Boxers, the long, hard march for the score, opened up their first lead of the day at 15-14, but Weymouth on the way back. Stay with us for fourth quarter action in just a moment.
The little things you do that you think are small and few are the things that mean the most to me. So just keep giving whatever you're giving, 'cause even when you're giving just a little,
If you're doing just a little, you're helping a lot.
it helps a lot.
From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
It helps a lot.
The Weymouth fans, something to cheer about for the first time in a while now. Their team hadn't scored in quite some time, and still hasn't, but they've got some progress here. The personal foul call on the Boxers and the big run by Mark Stanton have them inside the 30-yard line as we prepare for the final 12 minutes of the regular season, the final period to be played here at Marciano Stadium for 1992. The Boxers clinging to a one-point lead. Stanton leads the Wildcats out 1st and 10 from the 29. And he wants to run again. Goes airborne for Sampieri, and Mosley bring him back to earth, but he gets a couple.
Very durable also. He
That's
took
a
a
danger.
smack on, especially for your
For
quarterback.
a quarterback to make that kind of leaping run, you're asking for an injury.
Mark fixing his flak jacket right there. He's looked nothing short of phenomenal in both games we've seen him, Tim. Last Thanksgiving and this
You
Thanksgiving.
see what the scouts have been raving about. He really has had trouble with his supporting cast, but
You wonder how
his
they went
individual
3
skills
and
are there.
6 this year.
second down, 8 at the 27. Fernandez in motion as he is on virtually every play. And the give to Karasi. Karasi is popped by Belanger.
Wow. Hit of the game right there.
And Karasi is going to go count his teeth on the sidelines.
Either that or looking at birds. Watch this hit by number 35. You won't see a better one no matter what level of football you're playing at. Boom.
Stood him up and put him down.
The Belanger boom.
No gain on the play.
Passing situation.
Third down, 8 from the 27. Big play here. If not to get the first down, to keep them in a position to get it on fourth down. Big rush. The blitz on Stanton, throwing deep. Semper and Jacques on the coverage, no one there. It is well out of bounds, and fourth down comes up for the Wildcats.
You can thank that errant throw from Brockton's pressure. Jason Mosley was back there. In fact, Stanton ended up almost behind the Brockton bench, as did his pass. Had no chance of completing that one.
And I'll tell you, that's the last place he wanted to be, was on the ground in the mud in front of the Brockton bench and surrounded by tacklers.
Big call right here. Do you go for it?
I think you do. It's
I
the
say you do,
27-yard line.
You don't want to give Brockton the ball back because of what they did last time. They proved they're capable of a long, sustaining drive. That last drive was 9 minutes long. Here we go.
Consider the alternatives. Too far for a field goal and too close for a punt. So 4th and 8 from the 27. Stanton and the Wildcats looking to keep the drive alive. Stanton almost goes down, lost his footing. Now throwing across the field. Isn't that familiar? And well off the mark, Ellie Pierce tried to change direction and could not.
Stanton did all he could do to complete that pass. Maybe if the weather conditions were a little bit different, he had a good chance, but today just wasn't going to happen.
Well, there are some Brockton folks thinking back a year ago who got the willies on that play as they see Stanton roll one way, throw the other way towards the end zone. That's exactly the play that did the Boxers in 1991 in Weymouth. Stanton throwing to the right side from the left side, and that's a terrific throw from that position.
Comes up a little bit short.
Pierce had run across the goal line right to left and had to cut back the other way, just couldn't get back there. So the Boxers take over 1st and 10 at their 27, looking for the kind of drive that produced 7 points moments ago. Belanger able to pick up 4 yards to the 31. And there's no question the Boxers will not protect the lead here. They need to get points on the board.
They can't afford to protect the lead. They're only up by 1. They need more points. They need another touchdown, and they need a long, sustaining drive. 9.5 minutes left. Remember, Brockton's last drive was just under 9 minutes.
2nd down 6 at the 31-yard line. Michael Bourne, one man to beat. Touchdown, Bourne.
Long, sustaining drive. We'll take it any way we can get it.
What was that you were saying? 69 yards, Michael Bourne for the score. Just pure speed.
That's all, and some nice blocking up front. Mike Bourne, 165 yards with that, baby. Wow.
Jay Wilson, a speedy back himself, just could not close in on Mike Bourne, who goes the distance, his 3rd touchdown of the day, and the biggest one of the game right now, opening up the Boxers' 7-point lead.
Armin Colombo calls a timeout. Maybe he's thinking about 2 points here.
Well, now you are in that position. If you go for 2 and make it, you force Weymouth to go for 2 for the tie. If you go for 1 and make it, you force Weymouth to think about 2 for the win. If you go for two and miss, however, you set up an almost guaranteed margin of victory for Weymouth.
Actually, if Weymouth scores 2 points,
you're right.
It's going to be a tie game. Brockton is in really a no-lose situation right now. They go for 1, they automatically force Weymouth to do it.
Right. We have a 7-point lead, and a 2-point conversion would put it out of reach on 1 score. It would make it a 9-point game, and nothing Weymouth could do with 1 score could
but the extra
tie
point
the game.
Would still force the Wildcats to go for 2. That's if they go down and score, and that would just be for the tie.
That's right.
So
if
there's
you miss
no
the
way,
2-point conversion here, you've set yourself up for a loss because Weymouth can get a 2 to win it, a 1 to tie it.
Yeah.
If you go for the 1, you force them to get no better than a tie.
Armin Colombo is going for 2.
Well, I'm glad we got the math all worked out here.
My
and I'm glad we're not the ones making the call here. 21-14 the score on the touchdown by Bourne, 69 yards, 165 on the day. Just outstanding.
Watch Mike Bourne for the pitch. They got to run off tackle here. That's what I expect.
It's Bourne following Mosley and doesn't get there. Just stopped short of the goal line. Had the momentum, but a good defensive stop there.
Weymouth has their hole. Can they take advantage of it? Remember, they still have to score a touchdown before they can try to go ahead.
And there's a long way to go. 9:18 to play in quarter number 4. The Boxers opening up the 7-point lead. And Michael Bourne will get another look.
From our vantage, it looked like he made it over the line.
Well, he had that momentum going and just seemed to be on the way, but stopped short.
Yeah, it wasn't even
by
close.
Good defensive play. So $24 more. The Cape Cod Cafe Dollars for Points program on the 6 points scored by the Boxers gets us into 4 digits. They needed 20 points today to get there. They've got 21. So $1,004 on the season contributed by the Cape Cod Cafe to the Brockton High School Athletic Fund all season long, and for what, the 4th or 5th year in a row, the Cod has contributed dollars every time the Boxers score points. And we're up over the $1,000 mark for 1992. Our thanks to Jim Jamoulis and the Cape Cod Cafe. Alan Bursey kicks a ground ball to the 20-yard line, picked up there by Taylor. And he's out across the 30, so decent field position for the 2nd straight time for the Wildcats. They need a touchdown and extra point to tie. 2-point conversion for the lead. but still 9:12 to play. A lot of football left here at Marciano Stadium.
Plenty of time left for anything to happen.
First and 10 at the 33 of Weymouth. Wildcats went to the air on their last drive and were stopped in Brockton territory. And that one's almost lethal.
I think
Fernandez
somebody in the first row caught that one.
Intended for Fernandez on the screen pass, but
anyway, it was well defended. Kenny Legault, number 43, was all over Fernandez. Even if Fernandez had caught that, he would have got his bell rung.
So the clock stopped with 9:08 to play. Michael Bourne, all 3 touchdowns, a 2-point conversion.
He's done everything but carve the turkey so far.
Oh, he's coming to my house to do that later. A 20-point day for Bourne. And he's making his bid for the top of the Division I scoring lead. Stanton rolling right, throwing goal wide open. Ellie Pierce, who gets the first down into Brockton territory at the 49-yard line. Someone missed a coverage, or Pierce ran a world-class pattern there because he was left all alone.
Combination of both. A nicely run pattern. Brockton playing the zone defense didn't pick up on it. Stanton's got a gun for an arm. I'll tell you, he's been right on target for a majority of his passes. No one near Fernandez.
Just drilled it in there. And an 18-yard pickup from just across midfield. Call it 17 at the 50-yard line. And a body down in the backfield. Kevin Burns lost his footing. Ended up on the ground between Stanton, the quarterback, and Kerosy, the intended ball carrier. And that slowed things up and forced a loss of yardage for the Wildcats. Tough break caused by the field conditions now. But again, while we have the opportunity, much credit must go to Richie Bloomstein of Brockton.
Absolutely.
Who, as Steve mentioned earlier, volunteered his time throughout the season, about 12 hours a week, to single-handedly maintain this field. And the fact that there's mud on there now is thanks to Mother Nature, not because of anything that Richie Bloomstein did or did not do. Great job all year long. Pierce again has the ball stripped loose. The Boxers have it.
That's another break going Brockton's way.
Well, that was the break they made. Troy Semper went in there with arms flying.
They've been going for the ball all game long. It's slippery. It's very tough to hold on to. Beautiful run pattern. I'll tell you, Weymouth has Brockton pegged to a T. Stanton rolls out, throws right in the mark. Now watch Semper go in there. Actually, it was Craig Bernard.
You're right. Craig Bernard is the first there and stripped it away. Semper came up with the ball, and the Boxers get their first turnover of the day, and a big one at their own 34-yard line.
Weymouth, very impressive on offense, Timothy. They go to that passing game.
Really moving the ball well, but couldn't quite hold on to it there, and Belanger gets 2 yards before being stacked up.
Keep that clock running if you're a Brockton fan.
So the Boxers opened up their first lead here in the second half. Bourne's second touchdown. And the extra point by Bursey gave them the 15-14 lead. Bourne goes 69 yards after the Boxers stopped Weymouth on downs. As you look at Ellie Pierce, he's upset with himself, but he's getting encouragement on the sidelines from people saying there's not a lot you can do in that situation.
Not a lot at all.
2 straight catches he made, and
2 nice grabs also.
Just couldn't see any way to hang on to the ball with Bernard stripping it away. So the Boxers opened up the 6-point lead, 7-point lead following Bourne's third touchdown. Missed their 2-point conversion attempt. And the turnover there gives the Boxers the ball back. Clock inside of 7 minutes to play. And now the Boxers taking their sweet time on each play. Trying to use as much of that clock as they can. 3rd down and 6 here, though. They'll
gotta watch out they don't
need
get
a first down. Shaheen gets the snap off. They keep it on the ground for Mosley going over the left side. First down.
Jason Mosley really came alive at the Leominster game. He was the go-to guy for first downs up in Leominster, and he just carried that experience right on through the rest of the season. Another misdirection play, I'll tell you.
And Jason deserves an extra pat on the back. Left earlier in the second half with a knee injury, limped off the field, obviously in pain, and comes back here to get a big first down and keep the Boxers moving with less than 6 minutes to play now. First and 10 from their 46. Shaheen looks like not much there for him as he gets a yard. Joe Collette on the tackle for the Wildcats.
Weymouth has, I think, all of their timeouts.
I think you're right, Steve. I don't believe they've taken one here in the second half. The Boxers
Now,
did, to talk about their two-point conversion attempt.
this game could come down to one of those final desperate, oh my. Wow. Oh my.
It's the Green Bay Packers and Chicago Bears from Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Bourne! Just taken down from behind by Adam Good.
I guess we can call that a shoestring tackle.
That's about all that was left of Bourne to grab, and Good got it. But Michael Bourne picking up another Boxer first down at the 37-yard line of Weymouth as the Boxers try to put this one out of reach.
Watch Michael Bourne coming right into your TV set,
I'll tell
right
you
into your
something.
living room.
That is outstanding lateral movement considering the field conditions down there. For him to be able to cut side to side like that.
Bourne, 21 rushes for 180 yards.
Belanger bowls ahead for about 2 yards. You know, when you consider all the factors, the field conditions and everything else, this may be the best we've seen Michael Bourne. He's run for longer touchdowns, but on this kind of day, it's not made for a scat back like Michael. He really has to use those moves, and he's used them to his best advantage. 3 touchdowns,
Well,
this big first down here.
Mike Bourne's best asset is his straight-ahead running ability. He didn't show us that he could actually be a cut runner like an Anthony Comer until about midway through the season.
Second down, 8 from just outside the Weymouth 35. And Bourne won't get anywhere this time. Good penetration by the Weymouth defense. Just barely allows him to the 35-yard line.
Now Joe Kelly calls a timeout. Time beginning to be a factor here at Marciano Stadium. 3:40 left.
The Boxers will be faced with a 3rd and 8 from the 35 when they resume here following the Weymouth timeout. And we'll take this opportunity to congratulate the boys from across town, the players and coaches at Cardinal Spellman High School. We haven't talked about them this season, but they've quietly gone on to postseason play themselves. Spellman has already qualified for the Division 4A game against Case. That'll be at Case in the Division 4. They do not play at the neutral site. So the Spellman Cardinals upholding the honor of the city of champions, going on to postseason play themselves. Just in case you hadn't heard, some of the other matchups in Division 4B, Hull will take on Ipswich. A couple of coastal towns go at it. Division 5, West Roxbury undefeated against Greater Lowell. West Roxbury already defeated Greater Lowell easily earlier in the season. And the boys from the Vineyard, Martha's Vineyard, the defending champs in Division 5B, will meet Latin Academy. Division 6, Weston with Cy Butler. They'll take on one of 2 teams that always seems to be there in the postseason. Holliston and Westwood, they'll play. They're playing today, and the winner of that game will meet Weston. Marion and West Bridgewater, other local players who deserve our congratulations, will play in 6B. Division 3 has a lot of variables left. Rockland has a good chance of going. Duxbury might get there. Winthrop will play either Foxborough or Mansfield in Division 3. Reading in Division 2 against one of the Merrimack Valley teams. Wellesley and Lincoln Sudbury, another team, Lincoln Sudbury,
They're a powerhouse.
always in the postseason play. And in the Division 1, all we know so far is that Brockton will be there and North Quincy will be there, but they will not play each other. The other 2 teams still open for consideration.
One team noticeably absent, Walpole.
That's right, 3 losses on the season for the Rebels and General Lee. 3rd down 8, Michael Bourne. He'll get about 6 of those and set up a good opportunity on 4th and short. Weymouth takes another timeout as the clock ticks down to 3:27. Actually, Joe Kelly lost about 2 seconds from the time that he signaled timeout.
I agree with this coaching style by Kelly because he has a quarterback who can pass, and you really don't need timeouts if you can pass. They've been finding the sidelines nearly all game long. This is a big play right here, Tim.
Yeah, you need to get at least 5 or 6 here to set up the possibility of a 4th down play.
Exactly. Mike Bourne does a nice job running and protecting the ball.
As we have the timeout, the one team we did not mention in Division III, Attleboro has secured a spot in the Division IIIA game, and they will play either Rockland or Duxbury.
Mansfield Foxborough, the winner of that game, well, I don't know, I can't remember if you mentioned that. They'll be going to the Division 2, is it, or 3?
Division 3B,
Yeah.
in fact, and whichever team wins today will host that game as well, either Foxborough or Mansfield. Mansfield with Omari Walker, an outstanding player, and Foxborough, another team that just continues to win and win and win. They will play Winthrop on December the 5th. So lots of good high school football to be played on that Saturday in December. Brockton will be at Boston University's Nickerson Field to meet either St. John's Prep or Xaverian or Waltham.
Let's hope for Waltham.
We'll know by the end of this afternoon. 4th down and a long one for the Boxers. Just inside the 30-yard line of Weymouth, this is a big play, and Shaheen realizes that, takes a timeout. Saw the defense, decided it was worth another discussion. So the clock remains stopped with 3:27 to play, and the Boxers leading 21-14. Stick with us after the game as we select our Cape Cod Cafe Most Valuable Player, and will we be catching up with Coach Colombo once again?
A wet arm in Colombo. Well, we have all year. I don't see why we should stop doing it. Be nice to hear his feelings on the game. Brockton again coming out very flat.
See an emotional Joe Kelly inspiring his team and getting a little time in the spotlight himself. Has to have been a disappointing year for the Wildcats.
Well,
coming off the 8-1-1 year.
But there was a lot of preseason hype that really wasn't fair because they only had 3 returners.
True. I'm sure they expected some difficulty, but it's been a tough one. This would remedy it if they could pull this one out, but they trail by 7. Bourne won't get there. Weymouth ball.
Well, there's hope on the Weymouth side.
So the Wildcat season can still be redeemed with 3:22 to play. They have a shot. They'll get the ball at their own 30. Trailing by 7.
70 yards away from pay dirt.
On their last 2 possessions, they've been in Brockton territory. 2 possessions ago, they went for it on 4th and 8, and the pass fell incomplete. On their last possession, a completed pass to Ellie Pierce, stripped away by Craig Bernard. The Boxers took over. Weymouth now 70 yards away, trailing by 7. Stanton hit in the backfield and dropped. Looked like possibly some motion on the offensive line before the snap. No penalty marker down, but again, the Boxers will be satisfied with the loss of yardage and loss of down.
Brockton using their size and strength over Weymouth right now. They just wear opponents down, as we say time and time again. The whole Brockton line was in on that sack.
I, for one, am thankful Weymouth has those numbers on their uniform, on their helmets.
Makes it a lot easier for us, doesn't it?
With those brown jerseys they now have, the numbers are indistinguishable. 2:35 to play. 2nd down, 15, a loss of 5 on the play. And here comes Larry Stroud. Stanton gets away for Sampieri in pursuit. Stanton throws downfield and out of bounds. There's a penalty marker down at the line of scrimmage.
Got to be holding.
And another penalty marker. This will be a unsportsmanlike conduct call on Weymouth, and things just fall apart on this play now. Not sure what the first call was. We'll get the signal now. It is against Weymouth. Ineligible man downfield.
And is that a loss of down too, Timothy? I'm not sure.
So the scramble, as you get a look at some of the record keeping on the Weymouth sidelines following the play-by-play action. The scrambling of Stanton kept the play alive, but also left some linemen heading downfield too early.
He's giving an all-scholastic performance today.
Stroud just does miss, and now it's Persampieri left to pursue the quarterback. The Boxers decline the penalty.
Still a loss of down? No. It's going to be 3rd and 20.
They had lost the 5 yards.
Remember last year, he completed a bomb to Fernandez. Watch for that. They got to go for broke sooner or later. This might be it right here.
3rd down and 15 from the 25-yard line. Only the two receivers split wide right. Stroud again gets a piece of Stanton, slows him down. And now Stanton wants to run. He is in a box. Belanger puts the lick on him, and Stanton comes up well short of the necessary yardage.
And again, you've got to give Brockton's defensive backfield all the credit in the world.
And also to Larry Stroud, who on 2 consecutive plays, he doesn't get the sack in the books, but he's right there to put the lick.
Wreaking havoc. You know what it is? Stanton's uniform is so wet and greasy, he just can't get a good grip on him. Stanton looking downfield.
And a timeout now by Weymouth with 2:09 to play. They're faced with 4th down and 11. Stanton got back 4 yards on the play. And Belanger, as you might have expected, was the one who finished him off. So for the 2nd consecutive Thanksgiving Day, excitement continues right down to the wire as Weymouth tries to determine how to handle this situation, knowing that if they don't go for it on 4th down, they pretty much give the game away. If they go for it, it's a difficult task that they're faced with.
Put it this way, they don't go for it, the game's over. If they go for it and don't make it, the game's over. So
the only
their only chance is a 1st down right here.
That was Lynn Campbell you saw on the sidelines, who was muddy from head to toe. They like it that way, though.
Sure.
A clip of the Everett game shown on the local news last night. They played last evening up there, and those players after the game all went out and slid on the muddy field, those that hadn't already been dirty. All right, here's the play. 4th down, 11. Keresy goes in motion. Stroud is in the face of Stanton again, and Stanton throws downfield. It is caught. No, incomplete pass. The official signal incomplete pass. Keresy thought he had it. It would have been a 1st down, but the Boxers take over.
And I'll tell you what, the referees missed such an easy penalty, such an easy clip by Taylor on Steve Pina, and there was a no call.
Stanton again under the pressure of Larry Stroud right there. Weymouth offensive line simply doesn't know what to do with number 42. And on the run, he puts it up for Keresy, who made a valiant effort coming back for the ball. And just did trap it. So the Boxers take over, 1st and 10 at the 29 of Weymouth. Just needing to hold on to the ball, maybe pick up a 1st down to preserve a 7-point lead. Belanger gets 4, maybe 3, and a timeout quickly called by the Wildcats with 1:54 left. The Boxers will have to pick up a 1st down to avoid just running out the clock. And many fans of both sides make their way to the exit. The Weymouth fans figuring all is lost. The Brockton fans figuring dinner must be almost ready.
So aren't I, to tell you the truth.
There goes Andy Moog. Just left. So the Boxers and Wildcats with a scratching and clawing battle. Seems whenever the Dogs and Cats go at it, wild things happen. But the Boxers just needing to hold on to the ball now.
I'll tell you got to give a lot of credit to Weymouth. 3-6 season, they certainly gave Brockton all they can handle. And this game's not over yet. Anything can happen, but...
No, I'm sure that, as we mentioned a few minutes ago, Weymouth, knowing that they only had a few starters coming back, they had a young team, inexperienced team, but still a disappointing season. But I'm sure they came in here thinking they could beat Brockton because they've done it. They did it last year, and for them, they felt anything was possible. And they still believe it, I'm sure. Belanger again pushing ahead, and a loose ball. Weymouth ball at the 21-yard line.
Not over yet. They got a long way to go, though. 74 yards.
Belanger has it stripped away. Let's see if we can pick it up.
Happened at the end of the play. That was a little jump there. This is the play right here. Watch 35. Let's see what happened. Oh, he lost it early on.
Somewhere in that pile, and it was a pile. And it was Lynn Campbell, number 72, who came up with the ball for the Wildcats. So, the ball at the 20, 80 yards to go, 148. Weymouth has no more than 2 timeouts left, as Keresy is stacked up at the 23, and the Weymouth fans want to know why that wasn't the 10th favorite play to be selected in that situation. So the clock continues to run. They pick up only 3 yards. And now Stanton will go. And he's hit by Stroud.
Larry Stroud, this last 5 minutes of the game has been the boxer to save Brockton.
Timeout called by Weymouth with 1:12 to play. The ball will be at the 18-yard line, a loss of 5, call it the 19, so a loss of 4 on the sack by Stroud, his 2nd sack of the day, 3rd of the season. And Weymouth will be down to their last timeout. And Stroud, you see, just not giving Stanton a chance this time, would not let the quarterback get away. Rain currently stopped. But the field is still a factor here as the Weymouth receivers on 3rd and 11 will be called upon to do some pretty good patterns. Get open, catch a wet ball. And the Wildcats try to pull one out of the fire as they did a year ago. Anyone who was there at that game or saw our coverage of it simply, from the Brockton perspective anyway, simply couldn't believe that that happened the way it did. Just a remarkable game, a thrilling victory for the thousands of fans on hand in Weymouth. And a crushing blow for Brockton, though. It did not knock them out of the Super Bowl game. It did deal some damage to their psyche as they went into the game against St. John's, which they pulled out regardless. But now Weymouth faced with 3rd and 11 at their 19-yard line. Stroud again, he's knocked down, this time over the middle, and almost picked off by Velios. Ellie Pierce, the intended receiver. Craig Bernard on the coverage. And Bernard got a piece of it. Velios dived and couldn't come up with it. So the clock stops with 1:06 to play and a 4th down and long for the Wildcats. Sampieri dropping back into pass coverage there. And just over the outstretched hand of Brent Warren, Bernard and Pierce meet, and it's Velios sliding into the picture, couldn't come up with it. So 4th and 11, this is the last gasp for Weymouth. All or nothing time for the Wildcats from their own 19-yard line. Stroud at the feet of Stanton. Over the middle, tipped away by Bernard. Fernandez, the intended receiver. Craig Bernard was there with 3 other Boxers in the secondary to knock the ball away, and with 59 seconds to play, the Boxers will take over at the 19-yard line of Weymouth, just needing, as we said a moment ago, to hold on to the ball to preserve a victory here. Here's the 4th down play. Stanton looking for his speedy receiver, Manny Fernandez. And it is Bernard for the 2nd play in a row getting a piece of that ball. And Bob Pileski, the public address announcer, giving information on the sale of Super Bowl tickets. It's the Division 1A playoff game, but it's still the Super Bowl to any team that gets there, and the Boxers will for their 2nd consecutive year. That was secured before today's action, and this game just gives them a little more momentum going in. The clock running down to 45 seconds. Weymouth cannot stop the clock any longer, and the Boxers will just have to put the knee down to preserve this victory. The 9th straight for Brockton after their opening day loss. In preseason, Weymouth was ranked higher than Brockton in the Division I Eastern Mass rankings. Weymouth lost their first couple and quickly dropped out of contention. The Boxers, meanwhile, after losing their opener, steadily climbed back up with victories in 9 consecutive games. This is the 9th, and it's sweet revenge for the Boxers. The 28-27 loss to Weymouth last year was not forgotten. The Boxers had to work for it today. They had to come from behind today, and they had to fight off a tough Weymouth team down the stretch. But the Boxers do pick up the 9th straight victory, and they do get a measure of revenge against the Wildcats. The final score, Brockton 21, Weymouth 14. Let's go to Steve Valley with Armin Colombo.
Thank you, Timothy. For the 2nd week, Brockton comes out a little flat.
And everything else about it. We're playing in the flat.
Obviously, audio difficulties down there on the field. We will take a moment to remedy that, and Steve will catch up with Armin Colombo in just a moment. Recapping for you, the Weymouth Wildcats went out to a 14-0 lead in the 2nd quarter. Penalties by the Boxers, giving Weymouth good field position. And setting up the 2 scores, Mike Taylor scoring twice and getting both extra points for the Wildcats. And then the Boxers started the steady climb back. Michael Bourne going in from 11 yards out, also helped on that drive by a Weymouth penalty. Bourne ran in for the 2-point conversion, 14-8. Bourne goes again in the 3rd quarter as the Boxers take their first lead of the game, 15-14, as Bourne went in from 14 yards out. And then it was Michael Bourne, 69 yards for the score to make it 21-14. The 2-point attempt was no good. It was hairy, though, down the stretch as the Wildcats recovered a Brockton fumble, had a couple of opportunities to get back in the ball game, and just could not do it as the Boxer defense holds them off, 21-14, the final score. You look at Mark Stanton playing his final game for the Weymouth Wildcats, but a bright future ahead for that young quarterback as he goes on to college play. We will take a break. We understand that our audio difficulties will not be remedied, so we won't be hearing from Armin Colombo this afternoon. But we'll wrap up the game, tell you who our Cape Cod Cafe MVP is, and give you some final statistics for you in just a moment. Please don't go away. The final score again, 21-14, Brockton over Weymouth.
Poor thing. Probably thinks he's going home. Spaying and neutering is more than just a good idea. It's a matter of life and death.
So 21-14, our final here. It wasn't pretty, and it wasn't easy.
The elements weren't there to make it pretty. It was ugly from the first whistle to the last whistle, but a win's a win, a win.
The Boxers, 2 turnovers, a surprisingly low number, 1 for the Wildcats. The first Brockton turnover was costly, led to a touchdown. But you look at the final numbers, and it
remember,
turned over quite a bit.
Brockton gained almost 200 yards in the second half. They held Weymouth pretty much in check to about 50 yards. So complete domination in the second half by Brockton. The only down point there is the turnovers. One of them, well, both of them could have been, well, I'm not going to say excused, but they shouldn't have happened, basically. Brockton out rushing and, well, I mean, passing you expected. Actually, I expected more yardage by Weymouth through the pass because they went to the air quite often. But, hey, a win's a win, and Brockton's playing December 5th.
Boxers knew they were going to the Division 1A Super Bowl game already. They still await the determination of their opponent, but they knew they were going, and they wanted this win badly to preserve their #1 ranking in Eastern Mass and to get some revenge for last year's 1-point loss. So that pretty much wraps it up for us. We want to present our Cape Cod Cafe MVP. You know Michael Bourne had 3 touchdowns, a 69-yard run, the 2-point conversion, but we like to share the wealth, spread it around a little bit, and the guy in hot pursuit right there is the man we give our Cape Cod Cafe MVP to today. Larry Stroud comes in on passing situations as an extra defensive back and was just unstoppable in the second half today. He made life miserable for Mark Stanton, sacked him twice today. More importantly, one of the sacks and 2 or 3 hurries came on consecutive plays in the final minutes as Weymouth tried to pull this one out of the fire. So the work of Stroud very much instrumental in preserving the Boxer victory. Larry Stroud, our Cape Cod Cafe MVP, and our total at the end of the regular season from the Cape Cod Cafe Dollars for Points program, $1,004 contributed by the Cod and Jim Jamoulis to the Brockton High School Athletic Fund. Thank you, Jim, on behalf of the school. That's our story from here. We'll see you at Boston University on December 5th, a 2 o'clock start as the Boxers play in the Division 1A playoff game. I'm Tim Cox for Steve Valley, our director Matt Malone, and the entire crew. Want to say happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for joining us, and have a good day, everybody. The final score once again, Brockton 21 and Weymouth 14.